Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Lunchtime Learning webinar series. My name is Brendan Woodruff. I'm the DEC co-chair of the Green New York Council, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here today for what's going to be a fantastic presentation. A couple housekeeping things before we do get started here today. Everyone is on mute, so if you do have questions as we go along, please type them into the chat box. We're going to get to all questions at the end of the presentation. So just type them in as we go along. We're going to get to those at the end. In addition, the webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on the Green New York website along with the recordings of the other ones in the next couple of days after the presentation today. In addition, our next Lunchtime Learning webinar is going to be on green sports. That's going to be July 13th. We've got a great speaker from the Green Sports Alliance lined up. When talking to them, they had some great stories about things they've been involved in, so that'll be a fun summer one. So without further ado, I want to hand it over to our presenter today, Kathy Kittle.
Great, thank you so much, Brendan. It's really a pleasure to be here, and looking right now, we have about 85 people joining us today, so I'm really excited. I hope that this will answer any questions you have about anything that DEC provides in terms of documents and resources. DEC InfoLocator is probably our flagship mapper and an ability to actually get information from DEC. So I want to talk a little bit about what our goal was for this project. We actually started it about 3 years ago. And we really wanted to create a very user-friendly interface, think Google Maps, trying to find locations nearby somebody that maybe they're interested in finding out about a facility and being able to get some documents about that facility. Say you have a dry cleaners down your street and you'd like to find out what are they permitted for, etc. So we really wanted to create this user-friendly interface to get documents and specific information. And we first started with the environmental quality side of the agency, things like air and water and waste management. And then we also looked at outdoor recreational opportunities because we saw that this map is a great way to provide people with information about maybe some of our plans for state lands, being able to link over to some images, etc. So I'm going to show you both sides and the way that we use DEC InfoLocator to really, our goal is to increase transparency for the agency and to provide that easy access to documents and data. Particularly, we want people to be able to get this information from their house, not waiting for submitting a FOIL request, which is a Freedom of Information Law request, really to provide that access at any time, anywhere, and from the comfort of their own house. So I want to describe, we saw this project as one map, but two views. Because like I said, there are two sides to DEC. We're one of the 5 super agencies, environmental agencies in the country. Most states actually divide up their environmental quality from their natural resources into 2 separate or 3 separate or even more different departments. Here in New York, we actually combine it together, which can make it for a very robust agency, but also a very complex agency. So for those of you who are not familiar with DEC, our job is to provide environmental oversight and information about all the different ways that you can interact with the environment. So we have both environmental quality and outdoor activity information. And in this one mapper, we have the 2 sides there as 2 different tabs. But what's beautiful about this is that we can actually combine information on the map so that you can actually see environmental quality information while you're looking at outdoor activity opportunities. Some of our collections of information get rather long, so you'll see the scroll bar in the application, the mapper, and if you you'll see our permits and registrations is actually probably our largest group of information, our data layers, and you can interact with as many or as few as you are interested in. So under environmental quality, we have it divided into different categories: permits and registrations, environmental cleanup, which is really our environmental remediation, hazardous waste sites, etc. Environmental monitoring, public involvement in news, environmentally sensitive areas, and legal information. And then we have a lot of reference layers, which we've actually been requested to add over time. We went live in 2019, and we've probably added at least 25 layers since we've gone live. Things such as tax parcels and county boundaries and town and city boundaries, etc. We also have the capability for you to turn on all the layers of a particular grouping or get some layer information on our website. So the check all is great. You'll see that if you check, say, a grouping such as permits and registrations that has a lot of data layers, you'll see lots and lots of icons on the map. So it can be a little overwhelming. But if you want to see all of it at once, you can do that check all or uncheck all as well. So the outdoor activity tab behaves the same way. We have those categories grouped very similarly, and then there's a scroll bar if the layer is too long for your browser. Our outdoor activities, we have land-related, campgrounds, trails, and the same functionality where you can check things on in an entire grouping or get some layer information. So I just want to describe some of the layers that, some of the data layers you'll actually see in these groupings. So under permits and registrations, we have more than 20 of them in that particular grouping. We call them accordion tabs. And the permits and registrations include things such as dry cleaners and large air facilities that emit pollutants into the atmosphere. We also have things like mines and waste management sites such as landfills and transfer stations. We have a lot of the water and speedies information. So if any facility is discharging wastewater into the environment, we have information where you can actually see the permit online. Under environmental cleanup, like I said, that is mostly our environmental remediation division. So they do things such as hazardous waste sites and brownfields, which are contaminated sites that are cleaned up by a company to a particular standard. And you can see the cleanup plans and you can see the consent orders, et cetera, that are related to that particular site. Under environmental monitoring, that's where you can actually look up the water quality of many of the lakes and streams within New York State. You can also look at some of the air quality. We have real-time air data at 20 different sites throughout the state, and you can actually see the real-time air data for a particular location. Very good if you're hiking and you want to go and you happen to have asthma, you may want to look up the air quality for that particular area before you actually go hiking. Public involvement, this is where we actually try to promote a lot of our climate change information, our potentially impacted environmental justice areas, environmental excellence award winners, etc. And then environmentally sensitive areas, this is where we have our tidal wetlands mapped, as well as what's called critical environmental areas. Very important if you're going to be applying for a permit. And then under legal information, we have our hearings and decisions, as well as our consent orders. Under the outdoor activity layers, we have 13 different land-related activity data layers, and that includes everything from our state lands to our trail, or excuse me, our conservation easements, looking up fire towers, or if you like to do primitive camping, find out where our lean-tos are. Really very popular for people that like to do outdoor activities to find where those are on the map. Campgrounds, I'm going to show you some cool functionality we have related to our campgrounds. Trails, you can turn on and off certain trails, hiking trails, mountain biking trails, horseback riding trails, etc. And then we have underwater related activities, some of our newest data layers, such as the trout stream. And what's really exciting about that one is you can actually click on a segment of a trout stream and identify what fish have been stocked in that area, as well as what are the regulations for that particular section of stream, so that you know if you're catching legal fish, and you know that, you know, if it's only catch and release, you need to put those fish back. So really exciting layer, brand new, and very popular on our DEC InfoLocator mapper. So I want to talk a little bit about some of our core functionality. It works very similar to a lot of other GIS maps. You have a zoom in, a zoom out. These are the buttons that are located on the map. The home feature is really good if you want to, just kind of reset your map in the middle and go back. An active layer window is really important, and I'm going to show you how that functions in a moment. And then the reset actually sets you back to a fresh map. When you start clicking on lots of layers, which people find they do because they're like, oh, I wonder what's here, I wonder what's there, and they start clicking on, you'll see lots and lots of icons on your map, and it can be a little overwhelming if you're not sure what you've clicked on. So the reset button is actually quite good. We have this really great help link, which we're hoping that people take advantage of. What's great about there is there's a little short video about getting started, how to contact us. If you see an error on the map, we encourage the people that come to look at DEC InfoLocator to give us feedback. Hey, this icon is in the wrong spot. I thought the facility was a little bit down the line, or this land doesn't look like it's in the right spot. And we've actually gotten quite a bit of quality checking from the general public who's actually used our maps. And it's also a way for the public to encourage and ask us to add new data layers. So they've identified some data layers that we've actually added to the map because of the feedback that we've gotten. You can change your base map. We start with the topographical, but you can change the satellite view, which I think is really good. Once you zoom in to a particular area, then you go to satellite view with labels, and you can actually see the street, be able to see the facility, and it's really good. I just like it when you zoom in a little bit further, because at the very big statewide level, it's a little bit tough to see if you zoom into satellite view. So that active layer window, you can start to see here, there's only 5 data layers that are active right now on the map, and you may forget what each of those icons are. With over 75 data layers, there's a lot of different icons that you can interact with and data layers to get information from. So this active layer window will actually give you a little pop-up, and you can move it anywhere on your screen. But it'll tell you exactly, what does a dump truck mean? It means active landfills. This oil drum with the red halo is major oil storage facilities. We have a blue halo for chemical bulk storage. So the different icons will actually show up in your legend, and you can print it out and be able to have that for you if you want to print the map. So to start with, you want to either search or zoom, and you'll see that at the statewide level, all of the data layers, right now I'm under permits and registrations, they're all gray because you're zoomed too far out. Some of our layers turn on right away, such as harmful algal blooms, because you want to be able to see them statewide to be able to get a reference point. But for a lot of these other facilities or locations, you really want to zoom into a certain area. So you either search or you zoom. We have this little alert here because when we first went live, a lot of people said your map is broken, because they would click on these boxes thinking, oh, I'm going to activate the air state facility layer, and nothing happened. Because they did not zoom in far enough. It's too far out in the extent. So we have this little zoom in to activate. Once you get in closer to the map, the icons turn on and that little alert box goes away. So once you zoom in, you can see the layer name turns to a black color instead of that light gray. You can either zoom in by using this plus sign or using your scroll wheel, or just kind of click on your map and keep clicking in, but you'll start to see the icons pop up here. And then once you do that, you can click on the icon and you get a little pop-up window with some information and some links to some documents. But make sure you zoom in far enough, because that way you'll be able to see the icons and the information. Lots of search functionality. You can search by the address, you can search by counties or a place name. If you know a name of a particular mountain, you can usually type that in. It is a nationwide Esri search, which means that you may get, if you type in just Orange County, you may get Orange County, California, but you just want to look for the NY for New York. So either zoom in or search, and then you can actually interact with the map much more easily. So these icon boxes, you get zoomed into the map, the layer name turns black, and then you start to see the dots on the map. Once you click on one of them, you'll see this little pop-up, and then a lot of times you will see a link. So for this particular one, this is for our mining, yes, one of our reclaimed mines, and it actually deep links directly to that specific record in our database. So you don't have to then go to our database for mines, have to know what the search criteria is for that, and be able to get more detailed information. It actually deep links right to that registry record in our database, which is very helpful for people that want much more information. Also from the pop-up box, you can actually have access to permits and modifications and cleanup plans. So here, I have a facility that's a Title V air facility, and that is what we call a major pollutant or major air facility in New York State. In the pop-up box, you actually get some detailed information. It tells you per year how many tons of each of these pollutants they're allowed by permit to put into the atmosphere, because they're regulated. So they could put in 49 tons of VOCs, 7 tons of nitrogen oxide, etc. So you get a little bit of information in the pop-up box, but then you get these links. So you'll see here, there's a link to the actual permit, to a condensed report. And then if you want to see previous year's permits for this particular facility, there's another link. And what's great is that you click on that link and here's a 60-page report right then and there. And it makes it much easier for someone to be able to find a specific permit or cleanup plan or some type of information report about a particular site. Right there from the pop-up box, you know you're at the right location. It tells you the name of it, and you can get the permit. You can read it at your leisure. You can download it. You can interact with it any way you wish. Now, some facilities may have much more data layers that pertain to it. So here, for instance, the Title V air facility, this is the Ravenna cement plant in what's called our Region 4 area over near Albany. And you can see up here, it says 1 of 2, meaning it's 1 of 2 records for that particular site. And when you use a little arrow that's next to that title bar there, you will actually see it also has a wastewater facility permit. So I could look at the Title V air permit that our Division of Air provides, but I can also look at the wastewater facility permit for that particular site. And some permits will actually have multiple, or some facilities may have actual multiple documents, and there you'll actually go to a directory. And you can see here, this is for one of our hazardous waste sites. You can see there's reports there, there's work plans, there's a consent order, all tied to that same facility. So imagine in the past, you had to file a FOIL request and try to be specific and ask for what documents pertain to a particular facility. For all of our DER facilities or environmental remediation sites, we put all the FOIL documents in one directory, and you can have access to it from that pop-up box. Much easier for the general public to be able to get that information. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the tools we have. We have a measurement tool where you can get a polygon of a particular area. You can also use a distance tool that will give you the distance between one point to another. I like to focus in on the near me tool because that is really very beneficial for anybody who is interested in knowing what's in their backyard. What kind of facilities do I have near me? So I'm going to just show you the Nearby Me tool. Basically, you start by selecting the tool in the toolbar at the top, and it's one, it's a little tough to see on the screenshot, but it looks like a little pointed arrow. And then you're going to choose your radius in miles, and you can go from 1 all the way to 10 miles of a radius. The next step is you would actually click on the map, and that sets the circle right there into that particular area. Particular area. And then you're going to get a listing in the legend here that will show you all the different types of facilities that are in that area. So when I click on here, these are MS4s, which are municipal separate storm sewer system facilities. Basically, they emit wastewater. If I expand the arrow here, you'll actually see the listing down below that will I can click on one of those listings, and then it will highlight it on the map for me with the pop-up box. So if I look for all the facilities that have wastewater discharges in a particular circumference in my circle, I will get a listing of them. I can click on each one and I can read the information there. I can get the permit. I can get a link for more information. You can even print that off and you can get a list of all the facilities that are in that particular circle. So I like the Nearby Me tool a lot. I think it's really popular and helpful for people in the public that want to know what's in their general neighborhood. And you can turn on as many layers as you want and get a full listing of all those facilities. So I want to talk a little bit about the outdoor activities because this is the fun part. Everybody loves to get documents and permits and read 200-page reports about a particular facility, right? Well, I like to hike and I like to camp. What's nice about the outdoor activity side is that you can actually identify all the DEC lands in a particular area. You can click on one, and when you click on the more information link, you go to right to that web page. So it's very easy to find a place to go hiking or say, mountain biking or fishing or whatever, right from the map. And that brings you to our website that tells you all the information that you need to know before you go out to that particular location. Where it's located, it has a Google map so that you can actually get directions, and then all the featured activities that are available on that particular land. This is some functionality that doesn't exist anywhere else, and I'm really excited about it because I love to camp, but I love to know what my campsite's going to look like ahead of time. And unless I blog it looking on the internet for, this particular campsite at this particular campground, you would actually, you can go to DEC InfoLocator, you can activate the campground layer, and by clicking on the layer and then zooming in, you can go to each particular campsite, and if we have the photos available, actually see the campsite itself that we've taken that picture in the last 2 years. You can click on the picture itself and see it nice and big. So here I can see my site is nicely wooded. I got this great picnic table. I have a water view. This is definitely a campsite I would like to go to. So what's great is that you can look at all the different campgrounds that we have, and if the pictures are available, they're in that small pop-up box, and then you can click on each individual picture to see what it looks like. In some of the campsites, we had multiple photos so that you can get a good perspective of that particular site. The real benefit of DEC InfoLocator, though, is that it brings both sides of DEC together in one place. So you can pick an outdoor activity. You can say you want to look up boat launches, and here I picked Oneida Lake. I can click and go to the web page about that boat launch, etc. I get a little information about make sure you clean your boat so that you don't transfer invasive species, etc. What the trailer capacity is. So a lot of information in that pop-up box. But then if I also activate here, I activated the lakes and reservoirs water quality monitoring layer. And here I was able to, I can see a fact sheet for that water quality. And I could see, oh, this water quality is actually quite good for Oneida Lake. And I'm able to say, yeah, that's a great place I want to go boating. Or a brand new layer we introduced last year was our harmful algal blooms. So again, if I want to go boating, I would activate the harmful algal blooms, see where they're located in the state, and Lake George is a very long lake. If there's an algal bloom at the top of the lake, it may not impact me at the bottom of the lake. I could be boating fine there. So what's nice about the harmful algal blooms is it shows you where on the lake that bloom is actually located, where it's been reported, and also gives you some pictures. So here, this is the first map that actually brings both sides of DEC together in both outdoor activities and environmental quality, and be able to have it on the same map. So the example I gave before, if I wanted to identify all the hiking trails, and then I wanted to, because somebody that I'm hiking with has asthma, I can actually check the air quality in real time for that particular area and see, is this a good day for me to bring this person hiking or not? Because I can check the air quality and see if it's maybe harmful for them or a little difficult for them if they have asthma. So it's a really great place to actually bring that side, both sides of DEC together. So I want to just show you what the web page looks like, how you launch DEC InfoLocator. It's very easy to get to. We have a link right off of our homepage, actually right under our calendar of events. It says DEC InfoLocator, and that brings you to this web page. Here on the web page is in this green box at the top. It says click to launch the map itself, and that will actually open it up in a new window so you can have a nice big screen and be able to use it. The other thing we have on our website, which is really good, is we have some help information. If you've never used GIS maps before, there's a great short video that walks you through how to zoom in, how to, use the different tools, etc. There's also a quick PDF to be able to basically acclimate yourself. It's pretty intuitive, but there are still people that have challenges because they've never used and interacted with a GIS-based map before. We also have a great feedback survey. We've gotten probably, I want to say, close to 150 feedback surveys submitted already since we went live. And a lot of them in the beginning gave us some great usability information, such as your map's not working. And we knew the map was working. We just tried to figure out why they were saying that. And it was because they didn't zoom in far enough. And that caused us to say, hey, let's add some new functionality. Let's add that little blue alert box to the legend so that if somebody's not zoomed in far enough, that alert box will show up and it'll stay there until they actually are close enough for the icons to pop up. So the feedback survey has been really great. And we've had a lot of people give us suggestions on what new layers they'd like to see. So they pushed really hard for us to get the tax parcels on there. So you can actually see for a tax parcel, is this environmental cleanup location spanning 2 or 3 tax parcels? Is it just 1 tax parcel, etc. So the feedback survey has been very, very helpful for us, and being able to fine tune DEC InfoLocator. We also have this locator layers page, and it gives you a description of each of our 75 layers that we have, and be able to, well, I say there's 75, we have some of them combined, so there's probably not 75 rows on my table, but there's a lot of them. And it will give you what the icon looks like. It'll give you the name of the data layer as it appears in the legend. And then in the middle of the table, it actually gives you some links to additional information. If you wanted to know much more about Title V permits, you can actually click on that link and you can go to a page on our website that describes it in depth. It describes what a facility would need to have as a threshold to be able to be qualified as a Title V facility, etc. We link to the regulations, which is never interesting to many people, but there are some people that want to know the specific regulations. So we put whatever our programs think are important for the public to know in the data layer description. We also tell you what information in this third column, what you can actually access through DEC InfoLocator. So you might just have a link to more information. You might get the facility name. You might actually have a link to the issued permit, etc. And then the last column, we tell you how often that layer is updated. We have many layers that get updated every single night. So for instance, the Title V permits, if a new Title V permit gets issued or a modification is made, it gets pushed out overnight, and the very next day you have the latest and greatest information. The same thing with all of our environmental cleanup sites. If you click on a particular site and we add in a new cleanup plan, or maybe a consent order, or a fact sheet about that particular site, it gets uploaded overnight, and the very next day that information is fresh. Some of our information is only updated annually. It's annual reporting. So for instance, on this example here, it's the Hazardous Waste Reduction Planning Program Generators. Long name. Basically, if you make hazardous waste, you got to give us an annual report. So that data layer is only updated annually. So there you'll know by looking at the layer description page how quickly or how often that information is refreshed. Some of it's as needed. Environmental justice areas, that's once every 10 years because it's based on the census. So we're just going to be pushing out the latest information from the 2020 census that got aggregated and made available as a data layer. So that'll give you an idea of how often this information is available and updated. So some coming enhancements, we're always looking, we're always adding more data layers, either ones that the programs say, hey, we've gotten a lot of requests for this information. We'd like to make this available to the public. Maybe it's a layer that was recommended to us through our feedback survey. It all depends on the program and the feedback we get as to what data layers we might make available in our next refresh. We are looking to optimize it for mobile. It will work on tablets very well. It will work on laptops very well. If you have a very small phone like I have, my fat fingers do not interact with the menu very well. We have the little hamburger stacked menu in the upper right-hand corner. You can use it. It's just, I find it's very clunky. So we have a project right now where we're going to work to actually build a native mobile app and be able to bring in these data layers so that it will function much better. So stay tuned. That enhancement will be coming. I can't say shortly. It'll be coming as soon as we can make it happen. And then the other question we always get are, how can I get these data layers for myself? We have municipalities that want to use this information for making their own maps. We have consultants that would like to do that. We even have members of the general public, techie nerds like me, who love to just play around with some of these data sets. So there's a couple of ways that you can actually get access to them. We're starting to make all of our data layers available as a web service. And that is probably the best way to interact with those data layers, because as I said, a lot of the data layers change overnight. They get updated. Maybe there's a new facility that gets added, a new cleanup site, or a new dry cleaner that gets started and they have a new permit. Those web services are the most current. So we're starting to make those available, and that is available through the gis.ny.gov website. And you can look up web services. And I think we have 25 of the 75 available right now, and more are getting added. We won't be providing data layers that we don't own. So for instance, the tax parcels are not DEC's information. We provide it as a reference layer. So we will not be providing the tax parcels, but we provide our cleanup sites, our potential EJ areas, et cetera, all as web services. Another place that you can get some of this information and download it as basically a data layer is the OpenNY data portal. Again, that's not updated. I believe those layers are updated once a year. Some of them are updated overnight because they pull them from our website, but the data.ny.gov, the OpenNY data portal, is available to download some of that information. And then some of the information is just available through the main GIS clearinghouse. Most of the ways that I think would be beneficial to people, if you do want to look to play around with some of these, is actually look to the web services, because I think that will be the most beneficial for you. So I want to just leave you with some contact information before I answer questions, and I can bring up the application so you can see it. Scott Donnelly is my partner on this project, and he's usually the one that answers all the emails that we get through our DEC InfoLocator mailbox. And that address is dec.infolocator@dec.ny.gov. And that's where people will report many times to us, either if there's an inaccuracy in the data layer, which we always appreciate, because we can look at it, the program can look at it, and everything looks great, but people on the ground know, no, this dry cleaner is kind of down the street a little bit. And then we can actually work with our programs to fix those data layers. We also, this is the direct link to it. It's from our DEC website, but this is just a short URL for it. And I want to see, Brendan, before I open up the application, do we have any questions that I can answer?
You actually answered most of the ones that I wrote down. And one of the questions that came in through the chat was to see if you could go through and show, let me bring it up here, a live demo.
Great.
Of looking for a campsite and finding information on when it's available.
Oh.
The person said that Yeah, they saw the link to Reserve America, but they weren't
Yes.
sure if there was anything in InfoLocator saying when the availability is.
So that's a great question. So I'm going to just describe, I'm going to bring up DEC InfoLocator and I'll describe what you can actually see. So from our homepage here, Brendan, just doing a check, making sure you can see my screen, the homepage?
Yep.
Okay, great. So here we have a link right on our homepage, DEC InfoLocator Interactive Map. And when you click on that, it brings you to our website here. And that's that green box that I showed you to launch DEC InfoLocator. We have a web page specifically about our new trout stream layer, because like I said, it's pretty exciting what you can, the information you can get from that, and I can show you that in just a moment. But here's our feedback survey, some of our help resources, and that layer description page that I talked about here, where you'll see there's some dates of when it was last updated, if it's an annual update, so you can know when that information is what I like to call the fresh as of date. So if you pull up DEC InfoLocator, it opens up in a new browser tab, and you always get this a little screen that pops up that says, you know, make sure that you know that you are, you know, this is as accurate as we have. We believe it to be accurate, but it's not guaranteed. Our lawyers made us say that. But there is some terms and conditions here, and you can get to the little help video here, but most people, great, I read that, don't show this message again. And then you hit agree and continue. So here, if you, let's just jump to outdoor activity because somebody was interested in that. I have this little window here I want to get off. Move to the side here. Okay, so if I go to the campgrounds and I activate the campgrounds, you'll see I still get that zoom in to activate. So I'm going to zoom in, and if I know which campground I'm interested in, now these are just DEC campgrounds. These are not the New York State Parks campgrounds or any of the campgrounds that are privately owned. And we did that on purpose because we are responsible for the accuracy of our information. I cannot tell you how accurate someone else's data layer might be. So we are very careful to make sure that we put DEC information on DEC InfoLocator. But I'm going to zoom into, this one, Indian Lake. This is one of our island, or here we go, Indian Lake campgrounds. If I keep zooming in, you can see the campsites themselves. If I click on it, okay, so this is one that doesn't have the photos. If photos are not available, then it will say photos coming soon. It'll give you some basic information. You know, there's some partial shade. You know, there's a driveway. There is none on that particular site. Let me go to North-South Lake because that I know we have our images for. That is a little bit closer to the Capital District, so it's more in the Catskills. I happen to be a Catskill kind of girl anyway. So let me see, North-South Lake.
Bringing that up, I just want to throw this out there that if you need somebody to drive up to Indian Lake Campground and take some pictures, I know someone for the job.
Really? Okay. You know, that would be a fun job, actually. Just go and take pictures. Actually, our operations staff is working really hard to do that. So they want to try to get the pictures. We're actually redoing a lot of our campsites, individual campsites. We have a huge program to restore a lot of the campsites. So they want to get them as they're being restored to show how they've improved the vegetation and improved some of the amenities there. So here's North-South Lake. If I zoom in a little bit, I can actually look at the different campsites. I'm going to look at this one right here, and you'll see, you know, here's a picture coming up. Oh, it happened to be the same site I used before. Let me pick a different picture. So here's one, and you can see there's a photo, one of two. It gives you some basic information. It will not tell you real time does this campsite, is it available for the next week? You do need to go to Reserve America, okay? And the reason being, they're the ones that take the reservations for each of the individual sites. But you can look through and look at the pictures and be able to, you know, click on them and see a bigger picture, etc. But if I wanted to zoom out a little bit, I can add in, so if I'm going to go camping here, I may want to look at some of the trails that are nearby. I'm going to look at some of the hiking trails. Okay, and you can see some go through the campground, some are right next to it. And when you click on it, it'll tell you the name of the forest. So I know that that particular trail is at Sleepy Hollow in the Catskill Wild Forest area. And I can actually, I can zoom in from here, you know, get that information. I can turn on my state forests, my state lands tab here, my layer, and see some more information about this particular site. So it's a Catskill Wild Forest. I can get a link to the webpage, etc. So it's nice to be able to interact with many of the different layers at once to really plan things out. So again, if I was going to go hiking and I wanted to, I had somebody that had asthma, I may want to turn on the air quality facilities under monitoring. Go to monitoring. I'm going to go to air quality monitoring sites and see if there's anything in that area that is an air quality monitoring site. Nothing close to that one. If I went to the North Platteville, what is it, Northville, it's that really long one, Northville Trail, the corridor, 127 miles. There's actually quite a few of the air quality monitoring sites along that route, and you can actually pull up that information. Any other questions so far, Brendan, before I show some other stuff?
So a couple more came up with that regarding, is there a link to Reserve America in the camping sites, or is there the ability to add a link where you could say like reserve now with Reserve America and then like kind of
reserve right now. So when you go to North South Lake, when you go to the more information page, I'm going to just click on that. You'll see it opens it up in another tab. And then you'll see the campground schedule. So that schedule will tell you it opens up, I think North South Lake opens up May 6th and it goes until October 12th. It's one of our longest opened campgrounds. But here, make your camping reservation, so the Reserve America. So it's not in the pop-up because we want people to get a little bit more information about, here's the fee, here's the actual address. We give you the lat long. You can check out the virtual tour of the facility and, you know, get the PDF map of basically what you would see. It's the more detailed site map for that campground. So the Reserve America link is right there at the top, but it's not in the pop-up itself.
Mm-hmm. So you've actually answered a lot of the questions I've written down, which is impressive. So couple questions here though. Are potential environmental justice zones in DEC InfoLocator?
Yes. So right now it's under our public involvement because we really look at EJ as we want to make sure the community is aware of facilities in their particular. I'm going to just reset my map for a second so I clear off everything. I love clearing it off because I tend to click a lot of things and it's very easy to reset the map. So I'm going to turn on my potential environmental justice areas. They're not showing up yet because I'm not zoomed in far enough. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit until that lovely purple color will start to show up. Okay, so here's an area over, you know, right here. So there's a potential environmental justice area. You get a little bit of information. You know, what's the percentage of the people below the poverty level, the percentage of the minority, etc. And then the beautiful thing is if I want to, I'm going to do check all, okay, and you're going to start to see lots of icons appear on the map. Look at that, holy moly. A lot of mines in this area, a lot of wells, a lot of permits, whatever. But what's nice is that if I wanted to search for justice, sorry, not the search, the tools. If I wanted to say that near me tool, I'm going to the nearby me tool. I'm going to say, let's just go for 3 miles. And I'm going to set my map here. Okay, and these are all the facilities that are in there, okay, in that particular area. And if I wanted to see, say, the, oh, I missed the EJ area. I had it, and then it, I didn't click right in it. Hold on, it's doing my map. Here's my EJ area. Let me move my map over. Look at that. Set it for 5. I'm going here. So now I'm in my environmental justice area, and I can see all of these types of facilities are within my 5-mile radius of this environmental justice area. I can click on the EJ area. I can get some information about that. But if I wanted to see like air facilities, this is a Cayuga Correctional Facility. They happen to have a permit for us. So you can see it highlighted in purple, and it already opened up a pop-up box for me, and I can get the registration right here by clicking on it, and that brings me to the document, or I can get more information just about what an air facility is. So this Nearby Me tool is very powerful for people to use if they want to know what's in a particular location, say their house or an environmental justice area in this case, etc. So, you know, you can get a listing of all these types of facilities by category within my circumference that I set. Okay.
And another question with that involving public involvement and kind of public comments. So when there's a new permit coming up that's in a public comment period, is that something that shows up in InfoLocator, or is it only once the comment or once the permit is in place that it shows up there? So I guess what I'm getting at is there the ability to go on there, click near me, and see, oh, there's this new facility permit that came in. How do I comment on it?
Right. So that is another great question. And that really pertains to this last section under permits and registrations. These are usually what we call, they call them projects of interest. And I'm going to just unclick everything first because my map will be just too busy. Let me just click on projects of interest and start to zoom in. And see if we have any in the state. If there is one where we're getting a lot of questions about a particular facility, this projects of interest will start to show up. Say I'm gonna go to the Albany area. I'll just zoom in here a little bit. And no projects of interest. Oh, here's one. Okay, so here is one of our projects of interest. It happens to be Norlight. Now Norlight has a bunch of permits already, but we put it in our projects of interest data layer, which gets updated pretty frequently. I believe it's at least once a quarter. I think they were trying to shift it to once a month. And that projects of interest is stuff that we're getting questions from the public a lot. So Norlight, there were a lot of public meetings. When you highlight this, you can click on it and you go to our webpage that has more information about it. Now, if I turn on the other permit layers, I will see the Norlight has a wastewater permit, it has a air permit, it has a bunch of permits. Some of these other facilities, it's just information. So here's a solid waste processing facility. We're getting a lot of questions about it. When I click on this, it should open up a web page that will actually highlight, it's listed here under our region 4, the Rensselaer engineered fuels. Okay, so there was some information about that. We have a web page that describes it, and you know, they were talking about seeker and seeker determination. So if we know that a particular topic or a particular site will have a lot of public interest, we'll actually put it in our projects of interest layer so that we can direct people to the right location for seeker information, for draft permits, for whatever information we provide. And that's actually handled through our Division of Environmental Permits.
Okay.
All right.
And another question that came in here is the data that's available in DEC InfoLocator comprehensive of what's available in the data selector in ArcGIS?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a pretty techie question. So whoever asked that, you know about GIS. The data selector will have more information because we really put the information we put into DEC InfoLocator really relates to either specific data type of information, such as, it was set up mostly for documents so that people can have access to the documents. So yes, it uses GIS locations and data sources to point people to the documents, but some of our pop-ups will just have information. So like for minerals, you'll go to our registry for the database. It doesn't have a document that's associated with it. So the data selector in ArcGIS will have more data layers. They are not all here on DEC InfoLocator. Most of the ones that we have really relate to a particular document, or like for the trout streams. This one was just super cool because you can actually get.
Next question.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just show it because I get really excited about this new data layer. You can see by the colors on here that I can tell this is a stock stream. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna click on this, and it tells me this is the Leachakill. This is the segment of stream that we stock, and this is what we stock. We stock brown trout. We stock about 468, not really about, that was pretty exact, but it gives you the number of fish that we typically stock in that section of stream, the latest stocking that we did, when we usually stock it. And then what's really cool is that it gives you the regulations for that particular stream segment. So here, daily limit between April 1st and October 15th is 5. Okay, and you can't have more than 2 fish that are longer than 12 inches long. And then the other time of the year, from October 16th until trout season starts, it's catch and release only, and you can only use artificial lures. So it will tell you exactly the string and segment information, as well as what is available in terms of the regulations. I love this. This is Kinderhook Creek, not too far from where I live. And, we put both brown trout and rainbow trout in there. We stock 19,000 fish in the creek. So we do 4 stockings in the year, once every 2 weeks, starting the 3rd week of March. So it's great because it gives you the information, it gives you the regulations, and it tells you exactly the length of the stream that we're talking about. There were no other places, unless you were going to flip through the regulations guide and the fishing book, to be able to get this information. And we are so thrilled that Fisheries worked with us to make this available. And then you can turn on the stream access. So this tells you the corridors where we have permissions for stream access for a lot of these properties, and then parking areas. So here, this tells you the parking area for a particular location. And if you zoom in a little bit further, it'll tell you the stream access if there is particular stream access. Okay, so like here, you'll see as I zoom in, this is basically the right of way, the stream access that you have for this particular segment of stream, that light boundary in the fuchsia. And when you click on it, it tells you that's your public fishing rights area. So it's pretty cool, really exciting, and we're thrilled that people are using the trout stream layer, because it was a lot of work for Fisheries to get it to where they wanted it. And I think with the mobile app, it's going to be even better when we get that available.
That is fantastic. That is a really great layer. So we've got one last question here, just in the interest of time, is do you have any kind of a fact sheet or anything else that people can use to advertise this to coworkers or friends?
Yes, we actually have a great fact sheet. I have it available. We have it on our webpage here. I believe we have it under the fact sheet as a PDF here. If you're a DEC person, I'll be happy to make copies for you and send them to you if you have other people, but you can send people to the PDF, and when they click on it, they'll just basically get a 2-sided. This has some just basic information, and then on the back of the fact sheet, it's kind of sideways right now, on the back of the fact sheet, it tells you all the functionality that you can interact with. It tells you, how you can switch between the environmental quality tab and the outdoor activity tab, how to zoom in so you get rid of the alert box. So all the functionality that I went over is highlighted on that map on the back side, and the front is really the promo piece that tells you, hey, There's some cool stuff. And don't forget, we have a short feedback survey to make sure that you tell us your thoughts. And anybody on this call, please go to DEC InfoLocator, play around with it, and then go to our webpage so that you can give us some feedback on what you liked and what you'd like to see changed, because we're always making improvements.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you so much, Kathy, for presenting today. This was absolutely fantastic. I don't think we've had a presenter anticipate the questions I was about to ask or that were coming in quite that well. So that is fantastic. I'm really glad that we did this presentation today, because this is a really fantastic resource. A lot of time and effort went into putting this together. And I know for myself, you know, if there's a weekend where I have a day with not anything planned, I'll just go play around with InfoLocator and discover some new place that I never knew existed and plan a trip there. I did that this past weekend and it was great. Yeah, and I won't tell you where it is for the same reason I don't tag places on Instagram. But
you must have liked it that much, Brendan.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we gotta take that layer down. But so thank you, everybody. Again, our next one is going to be on July 13th. It's on green sports with a presenter from the Green Sports Alliance. Thank you again, Kathy. And a recording of this will be up on the Green New York website soon. So thanks a lot and have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.